We are reading
from Kabbalah for the student, Introduction to the book Panim Me'irot U'Masbirot. We are on page 450 on the bottom. You may download this text on Kab.tv as well as ask questions there. Chosen relevant questions will be asked during the lesson. So once again, we're on page 450 on the bottom, where it's letter 13. Now you can understand the need for the breaking of the vessels and their properties, as it is written in the Zohar and in the writings of the Ari, that two kinds of light are present in each 10 sfirot, running back and forth. The first light is Or Ein Sof, which travels from above downwards. It is called Or Yashar, direct light. The second light is a result of the Kli of Malchut, returning from below upwards, called Or Chozer, reflected light. Both unite into one. Know that from the Tzimtzum downwards, the point of Tzimtzum is devoid of any light and remains a vacant space. The upper light can no longer appear in the last Bechina, the last discernment, before the end of correction. And this is said particularly about Or Ein Sof, called Or Yashar. However, the second light, called Or Chozer, can appear in the last Bechina, since the case of the Tzimtzum did not apply to it at all.
We have a question here. How to correct ourselves, how to correct the Malchut of Ein Sof, and bring it to a state where it shall be like the light, receiving in order to bestow. So he explained it to us in item 12, that we must reach a state, probably, where we have Katnut and Gadlut. In Katnut, in a state of smallness, we're all included in the Sitra Achra and grow through it. The Sitra Achra grows us, gives us additional desires, and we follow these desires, we run after them in order to fulfill them with pleasures and enjoy them. And these pleasures, they attract us, and thus instinctively we run and run and run and grow. Otherwise, we wouldn't grow. After we acquire vacant space this way, we start thinking, how can we really fulfill it? And then we come to a different time of corrections. We're through with the time of Katnut, and then we understand that it's impossible to simply achieve corrections, but here we have a very serious problem. If we grow this way, we won't be able to correct ourselves. What we need is for all of the vessels in which we grow in the form of vacant space, for there to be the broken kalim of Binah. Were it not for the breaking of the vessels, we wouldn't have had the opportunity to achieve the understanding. We would have simply suffered emptiness, not being able to receive the light in our desire without being able to understand why, how come. But if we will first of all undergo the breaking of the vessels in a route from above down, he first of all explains to us about the system, how we've received all this during the time of preparation, before this state in which we reveal ourselves. In our preparation, it happened once. Later on we'll discuss it, whether it happened or it did not happen. Or that now that we reveal it, we think that it did happen, or it is happening now at the moment. But it's not important. It's a kind of expression that it happened before us, and after we already know ourselves. These are relative things with respect to how you look at it. So, from this, we reveal a need for the breaking of the vessels, and that's what's important. By being attracted to the pleasures of the Sitra Achra, the other side, the impure forces. On the one hand, we grow our vessels a vacant space, where every time we run and do not achieve the pleasure, and the pleasure, it increases the deficiency. If in my 100 deficiency I want to receive 100 light and I didn't get it, then as a result I have 200 deficiency. And the light of 200 that I want to receive, and I already get a deficiency of 400. Sorry. And I want 400. And thus, up till when? Up to the 21st century, where we already start revealing the end. Don't want it anymore. And also, it's part of the plan. Otherwise, you can carry on this way. In spirituality, there are no limitations. So the need for the breaking of the vessels is so that I, along with the great deficiencies and the great pleasures, I start getting also the kelim of Bina, which grow. And then they show me that this way I'm not in the right direction. I will not be fulfilled. By these actions, and we have to see these actions like in a computer. Why? As a result of these actions, I discover that suddenly they're not preferable. And it happens with many things. I start a business, I take interest in something, suddenly something lights up. I want something, I'm fulfilled by something. Why? Do I eventually see an end, finish things, and pass on to the next thing? Precisely because in my kelim, there are the broken kelim of the Bina that work opposite to my own kelim. The more I enlarge my kelim, the kelim of Bina also grow, and then they show me that I am not in the right direction. They start to awaken. Let's see in his words what he tells us.
So we're continuing from the top of 451. Now, we have learned that the system of the Sitra Achra and the Klipot, the shells, is a necessity for the purpose of the Tzimtzum, in order to instill in a person the great vessels of reception while in Katnut, when what is dependent on her. Thus, the Sitra Achra too needs abundance. Where would she take it if she is made solely of the last Bechina, which is a space that is vacant of any light, since from the Tzimtzum downwards, the upper light is completely separated from it. Hence, the matter of the breaking of the vessels had been prepared. The breaking indicates that a part of the Or Chozer, of the world of Nikudim, descended from Atzilut out to the vacant space. And you already know that Or Chozer can appear in the vacant space as well. That part, the Ol Chozer that descended from Atzilut outwardly, contains 32 special bechinot, discernments, of each and every sphira of the 10 sphirot of Nikodim. 10 times 32 is 320 shach, and these 320 bechinot that descended were prepared for the sustenance of the existence of the lower ones, which come to them in two systems, as it is written, God hath made even the one as well as the other, meaning the worlds of Abiyah, of Kedusha, and opposite them the worlds Abiyah of the Sitra Acha, the other side. In the interpretation of the verse, and the one people shall be stronger than the other people, our sages said that when one rises, the other falls, and so was built only over the ruins of Jerusalem. This is so because all these 320, these shach, bechinot, can appear for the Sitra Acha, at which time the structure of the system of Kedusha, with respect to the lower ones, is completely ruined. Also, these 320 bechinot can connect solely to Kedusha. At that time, the system of the Sitra Acha is completely destroyed from the land, and they can divide more or less evenly between them, according to people's actions. And so they incarnate in the two systems until the correction is completed.
We learn that all in all, we have 320 parts. Where did these 320 parts come from? You remember, we had 8 angels, we had 8 melachim, 8 kings, and 4 discernments of Avaya. That's 32, and times 10, 320, which are shach. All in all, shach parts, shach is equal to 320. 320 which broke. Now, these parts, they can be corrected. And then it's called holiness. And they can be quite the opposite. This is holiness, and this is klipa, the shell. And they could be in between, more or less. This is our entire reality. We have a general desire, and how will we arrange these shach sparks in the direction of bestowal or in the direction of reception? Someone wanted to ask something. Yeah, please go ahead.
In your previous sketch, you showed that deficit is always growing. 0, 100, 200.
It's there.
So you wrote that, let's say 121, it's done. What does that mean? If we're talking about like the upper worlds, we see that nothing really ends. We see that everything begins from basic competition between personal individuals and countries, where one country wants weapons, the other one wants weapons, and only war.
Alongside with everything, we see that more and more people are tired of the competition, and they understand that their inner kelim, their desires, they can't really fulfill. They can't. They become worried. They become tired. They fall into a kind of a despair. It's not even worthwhile trying to do. It's not because I see bad examples. No, everything's shiny and it's working and everyone wants to sell me different things just for me to work hard, come to them, buy, give them my money. That's what they want. To turn me into their slave by doing so, but inside me, I start discovering that to begin with, I have this feeling that it's not worthwhile doing. Could be alongside with me trying to grab a hold of those pleasures. Sometimes I just close my eyes and I run for it, because otherwise, what will I have? Nothing at all. So I have to fulfill myself somehow. I remember I had a friend. I went into science, and he said, "Why do I need all that?" He started studying he became a historian. He said, "I'll take a part of, the 30-year war that took place in Europe." You don't know? So you don't know. There was a 100-year war, a 30-year war. There were such wars in Europe. I don't know how you call it in Hebrew. Probably there's a definition for it. So he became an historian. He said, "I want to limit myself to this. I'll be a professional." He really became a professional, but that's what he knows. Meaning, he was very smart. He put a limitation over himself on purpose. How come? The more assets you have, the more problems you have. Once and for all, you cut it off, and that's that, and you don't suffer any longer. So, what do I want to say? If it's possible doing so, it's impossible, but say it's possible. You can find in our times many people, and this comes to us from the Kelim of Bina, that are broken, that are in the will to receive. If the will to receive would have merely kept on working the way it is, desire against pleasure, it would have been simply an endless pleasure. It would have kept on working according to that same power, because we're simply a machine. Who and what are we? As much as I think, as much as I feel, I'm a machine. Will to receive against the pleasure. The pleasure shines, the will to receive runs. The pleasure stops shining, the will to receive stops. It all depends on the relation between them. And then, why should it end? What does Bala Sulam say? Where does this whole matter of the angel of death bring the drop of poison on the tip of the sword, giving it to a person, he swallows it against his will? Where does it all come from? As a result of the breaking of the vessels, having the sparks of Bina, then he has these two powers inside him. On the one hand, the egoistic will to receive that shines, and I'll fulfill and fulfill you. And eventually it comes to an end. That it comes to an end, it comes from the Bina, which also grows. I'll ask differently. Where does the impure force come from? It's the sidrach is not the klipa. The klipa comes from the intention in order to bestow, that turned into the intention in order to receive. The klipa is opposite to bestow. The will to receive itself, it's neither good nor bad. Were it not for the breaking of the klipa, then we wouldn't have had it in our world. It's the evil inclination. There's the inclination, and there's the evil. It's in addition to the inclination. He has an intention to use for himself or to harm others. He enjoys the suffering of others. Then one feels himself better in control, respect, or simply being better, higher than others. His situation is better when he examines himself with respect to others. Where does it come from? It comes from the attribute of Bina that gives us the feeling of others. An animal doesn't have a feeling of others. A lion that's going to devour a deer. You saw nature movies. You can see he circles it, and if you want to harm someone, you hide. You don't want to show your intentions, your evil intentions, and so on. Even you hide yourself, you hide it from yourself. And here you have a deer, and he circles and circles and circles it until he devours it. And the deer knows that the lion is going to devour it, and the lion doesn't conceal it. It's not called an evil inclination. The lion doesn't want to harm the deer. He simply wants to eat. It's something entirely different. It's not called evil inclination. He wants to eat. It's like small kids. Up to the age they become cunning. We like them. With all of them coming up and grabbing and taking from you and so on. They're cute. How come? No evil intention. That's the living degree. When does the speaking degree start? When inside he has a desire to harm you. He refers to you with an intention towards you, not towards your body wanting your flesh, but towards you, your personality, meaning on the man level. That's the evil inclination. Thus, in our world, there's 7 billion people. How many have an evil inclination? Barely. Barely. The evil inclination is only for great souls. Anyone greater than his friend, his desires are greater than his. Means that it comes to us from the Bina, because Bina gives us a feeling of others. If you don't have the feeling of others, then I have neither good nor bad. I have only an inclination, like a lion that eats the deer. Mere desire. Yes.
You said that beforehand that along with this, that a person is running to acquire the next asset that society dictates for him, that it's worthwhile for him to acquire, he feels, yes, along with it, some internal sensation of, how'd you say that it's not worthwhile. That he runs for it, he sees that it's not worthwhile already. Now, where can we see such a thing? Yes, a person is going to acquire something great. He's happy while he's going to go for it. He worked hard. He's going to acquire the possession. He's happily going for it.
And later?
Well, then it turns boring, just like yesterday.
How come?
Because that's the mechanics of things. It's just how it works. You go, you acquire, you get happy, and it passes, and that's it.
I'm
again and again.
Why? Why does it go away? Why can't it stay? You're saying it's a fact of life. I'm asking, where does this fact come from? Why does such a phenomena exist in life? That it goes away. Goes away meaning that the will to receive disappears. Inside the old Kli? No, the Kli is also new. meaning that which I have acquired in the previous kli, some pleasure, I've attained it for a moment. Later, I have maybe a bit of greater pleasure, a greater kli, and against it, a new pleasure. Meaning, all the exertion I put in previously, I enjoyed, and so on, that's it. Comes to an end. I have to cross on into the next state. And in the next state, it will happen again towards the next state, and so on. So I'm asking, these states can constantly repeat themselves. It's like you teach a dog or a mouse how to develop a reflex. They push some button, get some food, where they have an electrode that gives them a sensation of pleasure. Then as long as you push it, it gives a pulse, you feel pleasure. Push, pulse, pleasure. They push until they die. They can't stop. They can't stop. Why aren't we that way in life? Because we have a spark of the Bina. We are the broken vessels. Were we not from the broken vessels like animals and beasts, we would have constantly been like a machine in the same direction. Push the button, get pleasure. Push, electrical pleasure. And time after time, thousands of times. It's no. A person is incapable of that if you do not, disconnect something in his mind. But an ordinary person is incapable of doing that. How come? Because he has the sparks of Bina. As he says, there's a need for the breaking of the vessels. Because then, when in one theme you have two opposite things, what happened during the breaking of the vessels? First of all, there was Galgalta, one kli. Afterwards, Bina joined Galgalta, second kli. Afterwards, there's the combination of Bina and Malchut, third kli. A part comes down from here, and a part comes from here. And in one kli I have to... Sorry, no, it's not how it is. And then the kli divides. Here's Bina, here's Malchut. This kli ascends. There's a coupling, it goes down. Katnud, gadlut, and breaking. Katnud, gadlut, and breaking. What broke? Bina and Malchut. Here, inside, Bina and Malchut both broke. The incorporation of Bina and Malchut, Malchut and Bina separately, Malchut separately, all those different, the combinatorics out of 2 is 4. Thus, we're a result, because we're humans, we have an inclination and evil. Why evil? The Malchut has nothing, it's an inclination. The evil is the Bina that became bad instead after it broke, after it was good. It became opposite to itself. The Creator, who aimed us towards the good and so on, now works opposite to himself. Bina is the Creator. That's what works in us. What does the Creator actually want to say in a sophisticated way? It's not that he says it directly, but he says, I'm now working in you oppositely. You're now revealing me as evil. And all of your evil actions, that's me doing it so on purpose. In order for you to want to reveal me as good, the way I truly am. It's him working. Thus he says, I've created the evil inclination. What does that mean? I've entered you in my opposite form. Who's the evil inclination? The other side of the Creator that dressed this way. Instead of Shlomo, Ashmadai.
Well, where do you see an expression of this in our life?
Our entire life, he ruins our whole life by doing it. He does it. Where does the concealment come from? Where do all the problems come from? It's all his broken force, opposite to him. It's called broken. That works. And every moment he wants to show us how this evil force, his evil appearance is evil. For us to want the opposite, the correct, good form. Yes?
Where do you see an expression for this in the process of acquisition, that a person is going to acquire to fill himself?
I work as if, because I work as if with the will to receive more world and more will to receive and more. What stands in my way of enjoying? It's the Creator who trips me and empties me. This is simply put. I don't want to get into the system, the connections between the souls, that he broke into many souls. We'll speak about it. They're pretty confusing parts. Where are you?
We are on page 451 on the bottom.
We'll finish.
After the breaking of the vessels and the decline of the 320 bechinot of sparks of light from Atzilut outwards, 288 rapach of them were sorted and rose, meaning everything that descended from the first 9 sfirot in the 10 sfirot of Nikudim. 9 times 32 are 288 rapach bechinot, and they are the ones that reconnected to building the system of Kedusha. You find that only 32 bechinot remained for the Sitra Achra from what had descended from Malchut of the world of Nikudim. This was the beginning of the structure of the Sitra Achra in its utter smallness, when she is as yet unfit for her task. The completion of her construction ended later by the sin of Adam Harishon with the tree of knowledge. Thus we find that there are 2 systems, one opposite the other, operating in the persistence and sustenance of reality. The ration of light needed for that existence is 320 sparks, shach sparks. Those were prepared and measured by the breaking of the vessels. This ration is to be swaying between the 2 systems, and that is what the conducts of sustenance and existence of reality depend on. You should know that the system of Kedusha must contain at least a ration of 288 sparks to complete her 9 upper sfirot, and then it can sustain and provide for the existence of the lower ones. This is what it had prior to the sin of Adam Harishon. And for that reason, the whole of reality was then conducted by the system of Kedusha, since it had the full 288 sparks.
We have usually we divide it into Rapach 288 and Lamed Bet 32, which are all in all Shach 320. Rapach are the first 9. And Lamed Bet is the Malchut. So thus he says that the system of holiness has to at least be included of the Rapach sparks. Then it exists fully and has no problem. And if less, then it's already flawed. What?
After a person comes to wisdom of Kabbalah, what promises that he will finally get out of this loop of 100, 200, 400? How is he changing his process of always enlarging the desire and emptying it, enlarging and emptying?
He comes to Kabbalah after he's despaired, not before. I'm sorry. We don't have a problem with that. In Kabbalah, we accept people to whom it is obvious that they no longer want to be in this loop. If a person doesn't know that yet, then you should go and check yourself out. We don't need such people to whom it's not yet obvious what they want in life. We accept people to whom it is obvious that in this life, in the way everyone lives, there's nothing to look for. That you have to look for the real reason in life, the true source for life, the purpose for life that must exist. Subconsciously, they feel that it has to exist. There cannot be a capital without a leader, as Abraham asked. It's allegorically speaking. A person says, there is a ruler. It's a capital, meaning that there is a reason for it, a purpose. A person has this inner demand that it's impossible that it doesn't exist. It's a person's inner truth. He knows that's how it is. And these are the people who come. They come with a real desire to discover. True, well, true, but that's what you start with. If he still tries to attain different pleasures, so please, we're not intended for that. We're not selling him a greater pleasure here instead of the different pleasures which he wishes to acquire. When he comes here, he comes with only one thing: I want to acquire pleasure. Let's better say fulfillment, a real fulfillment, in which I will feel no lie. And later on, he agrees, he gets this decisive or lifeful pleasure, and he's prepared to forget everything, Kabbalah and so on, but he comes with a point of truth. That's how it is. The very first point with which a person comes to the Kabbalah with, it's a very principled, true point. Thus it says, where those who repent stand, those who are already repented can't. Well, there's a deeper explanation to it, because the righteous, they can't stand. That's merely chafetz chesed, delighted in mercy, and those who were repented. It's above that, but for our point here, it's sufficient. Yes?
We see that even in spirituality, let's say we have many events and congresses that we do receive pleasures, and also each time we have descents and emptiness. What's different in this process?
This is already a spiritual process. I am acquiring a new great big kli. I connect to a new kli, and then I no longer add to that kli, so I feel emptiness. During the day, I was connected with a few more thousands of people. We felt as one man and one heart. I felt with them a certain kind of a reciprocal arvut. I really felt myself as dedicated to them, devoted to them. And these small moments, maybe subconsciously, but it happened. That's it. I've added for the very first time to myself, or I discovered in myself a spiritual kli that I didn't have before. Previously I had corporeal kelim. I had a kli of give me some fulfillment. That's it. That's what I wanted. It's called animalistic. Now what did I do? I didn't know how it happened, but I connected to something great together. This connection is a deficiency. It's a spiritual deficiency. It's a spiritual kli that I never before had. Now I have to work with it. And I throw it away and want to return to my ordinary kli. Again, give me pleasures from, day-to-day life. And what about this? This remains empty. Such a great big thing compared to that. You feel your kli as if you want to return and enjoy it. And here, along with it, you have this spiritual deficiency. And suddenly, you have no point in life. How will I fulfill myself? What will I do? Where's the wine and the meat? It's no longer a pleasure for me. Well, people simply say meat and wine. But thus, now, in advance, towards our upcoming convention, for us to once again reveal a kli, and let's hope a greater and stronger kli. We have to prepare an answer specifically for this, actually. Yes?
The emptying you just spoke of beforehand, results of this, there are the sparks of Bina that exist, and they're the ones emptying.
These are the sparks of Bina. This is Bina. The spiritual kli is the Bina. Here I fulfilled it by bestowal. Here there was a certain sensation of bestowal, of everyone, of the group. Here I don't have this. And the deficiency, it remains. And I'm in trouble. I have to immediately prepare connection with the others, how to draw light together, all of us. We have to build a mechanism, but what am I saying? The preliminary spiritual deficiency, really so. It's for the first time that I have a spiritual kli. Previously, I didn't have one, thus I wrote animalistic. Animalistic deficiency, or human one. Human. Yes.
You said beforehand that Binah herself empties. When I want to, let's say, fulfill an ordinary will to receive, the sparks of Binah empty the desire. But if I'm receiving fulfillment from bestowal, what empties it afterwards?
If I wouldn't have had the feeling of another, I don't know what you mean by Binah. Binah is the feeling of the other. Binah is entirely built on bestowal. Where does bestowal come from? As a result of feeling others. If not for the feeling that there is something else besides me. Not that I earn something, but there is
Profit.
It's not that I profit something, but there is something besides me. It all comes from the Binah. The will to receive doesn't feel it. A lion that wants to eat the deer, it doesn't ascribe a personality of its own to that deer. He sees that there is 100 kilos of protein there and he needs it, otherwise he can't live. And that's how he looks at that thing moving before him. He has no other interest in that deer. He doesn't want to harm it. He doesn't refer to the deer's personality. The Binah inside us is a part of divinity from above. It's a godly attribute. It opens an attitude towards others. That's what I open up during the convention. Pleasure and fulfillment during that convention. I come out of the convention, I feel bad. Maybe not immediately. A week later, even less than a week, and I feel terrible. It's because I've acquired, not that I acquired a greater deficiency and previous I had a smaller deficiency. It's, let's say, from a different dimension. It's spiritual. It's a part of the next world. Thus, you can fulfill it only by the means which correspond to the group, the study. We have to think how, especially by mutual actions. By mutual actions. To simply leave a person in the group, in the study, you have to think. But I'm telling you, this means to prefer to prevent than
the illness.
Then become ill and, then cure it. This is the path of hastening. It's not that it's in its time or hastening where the world advances one way or another. Hastening or in its time is the path of the workers of the Creator. For them to have an advance had to cover them. To advance as an elderly person constantly looking for something. Did he lose something? This is called hastening, that we prepare a remedy in advance, that it pulls us. In other words, it's called love pains. It's then you take love pains instead of the ordinary pain, and here we have no choice. We have to make a good calculation. Okay? Yes, Eddie.
You just described beforehand an ordinary person who comes to the wisdom of Kabbalah. He has a question, what's the point of life? He has no other flavor for his life, so he comes to learn. Now we have great events in Be'er Sheva, and then November, the international one. And I watch TV with you guys. I watch you guys, and I'm not entirely in despair, but it seems good. So why should I come to these events? I mean, are these guys nuts? I'm still quite okay with life.
No. If you have meaning in life, then don't come. I don't want to describe ourselves as it being a convention for really bummed out, depressed people. Everyone's sitting around. I don't think that that's how we appear while we gather. But inside, there's a question, there's a deficiency. A person comes because he has a question about the meaning in life. What's the meaning in life? Possibly he's very successful in everything. But simply, nonetheless, he is undergoing a search. It's as if we're talking about hopeless people that are laying around as dead, as if they're dead. And no, I'm not talking about this. I'm talking about a person who's constantly moving around. He wants to swallow up all of reality. He wants to be above this reality. These are the people that come to us with great big eyes. We'll continue tomorrow.
Final announcements. We are all meeting in the south and ascending to the next degree. This upcoming Wednesday at the 18th of August, 6:30 p.m., we are all going to rise to the next degree together. It's happening in Be'er Sheva, in Israel, of course. You can find more details on Kabbalahinfo or call 1-700-509-209 if you intend to come. We're inviting you all to our new website of building our social system on the simulator internet.kbb1.com. The stimulator. Take part in answering the questionnaires. Build questionnaires of your own. Give ideas and impression and inspiration to everyone. We're building a spiritual environment together. Unity Day. The world is connecting to good. This Sunday, the 29th of August, all Kabbalah homes around the world will be connecting together in a day full of connection. Lecture with Rav Leitman, Yeshivat Chaverim, actions, activities, happiness. It doesn't matter where you live, doesn't matter how long you're studying. Come experience this warmth, this love, and unity. Once again, 29th of August begins from 3 p.m. until 8 p.m. Israel time. This will be taking part in all Kabbalah centers around the world, broadcasted in all our channels. Take part in this. Kabbalahinfo, Kabbalahinfo. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
יש בכל הרצונות רק רצון אחד, אדם מתחיל להתעורר של להיות לבד, נקודה בלב בוערת אש בפנים, היא צריכה להתרחב למצוא את החברים, והשמחה שלי בדרך לחופשי לרצות ולגלות כל מה שבתוכי, בקשר הדדי כאב שלך שלי, למען אהבה אתן את כל כולי, נקלה את האמת נצא מהסתרה, נעורר ונאסוף חלקי הנשמה, נאחד את רצונות ישחד בלב אחד, נלמד ביחד לאהוב, נרגיש את הזולת, והשמחה שלי בדרך לחופשי לרצות ולגלות כל מה שבתוכי, בקשר הדדי כאב שלך שלי, למען אהבה אתן את כל כולי, יש בי רצון כזה לחשוב עליך, לחוש ולהבין ולאהוב אותך, בקשר הדדי איתך תפילה, עוד בחיים שלך תראה את עולמך עוד בחיים שלך